This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter, and this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello, and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show, each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com, more of our podcasts at ObsessiveViewer.com/podcasts. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And finally, you can follow us on Letterboxd at Obsessive Viewer, Obsessive Tiny, and I am Mike White. I'm your host, the aforementioned Matt Hurt, and with me today is recurring co-host Kyrsten Leister, who can be found on Twitter at burger_lurker.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Feckus is texting me asking about Welcome to Marwen.
We'll get to that.
We will. Yes, today on the podcast we are going to be talking about a couple of movies we've seen in the theaters. And yeah, one of which being Welcome to Marwen. But before we do that, I don't really have that much housekeeping or anything. Just that I am super excited about 2018 ending.
This has been quite the year.
It has. Well, that's the thing. It's been a really good year for me in terms of movie watching. And like,
But me personally, my life is in shambles.
Oh yeah. I'm a
emotionally, I'm crippled.
Yeah, exactly. But movies. But no, it's been quite a year for me in terms of movie watching. Like, I'm super excited to compile all my stats and everything, and I'm super excited to force you to make a top 10 list.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, it's going to be on the episode, so you'll have to, because Feckus is going to do one.
We'll see.
Yeah. Well, we will.
I'm going to drive up the suspense.
Okay.
Will she do it? Will she do it? Will she not? Will she?
Will. Oh, I forgot to mention, you can also support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Kyrsten and I just recorded a Christmas-themed little bonus thing for Patreon subscribers. So, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and support us at the minimum rate of $1 per month, and you'll get access to a, special RSS feed that is, filled with exclusive content, for your listening pleasure. And, speaking of which, today, in terms of releasing this episode, is Christmas Day. I'm releasing this on Christmas. So
Merry Christmas, everyone.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Kyrsten and I had a small discussion about people, like, listening to the podcast instead of spending time with their family, and, I really appreciate you guys doing that. And taking time out of your time with family to listen to us talk.
Or even those of you who have gathered the kids around the fire to listen to the Obsessive Viewer together as a family.
That's one of my dreams. That is one of my dreams.
I'm picturing, like, people who used to listen to the radio, you know, and, like, you would listen to the Lone Ranger on the radio. Like, that's what this is. You're the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
I'm Tonto.
Right? Yes. Okay, yeah.
Pizza's the horse.
Pizza.
Did the horse have a name?
Did the horse have a name?
I'm sure it had a name. I never watched The Lone Ranger.
Me neither.
Or listened to it.
I'm like the Lone Ranger.
And I never saw the Johnny Depp
me neither.
because, wow.
Yeah. I'm the Lone Ranger. You're like Tonto, and Pizza's Bonto. The Office reference? That's a deep cut Office reference.
That's familiar, but I can't pinpoint
Season 2 episode, The Fire.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is that the one where Stanley had the heart attack?
No. Oh, no. That's much later.
Because he had the heart attack during the fire. Oh, I know. Ryan started the fire.
Exactly.
Yeah. There's the other fire that happens later when Stanley has a heart attack.
Yeah, the fire that was shooting at them.
Right, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so anyway, speaking of people listening to the podcast, we ran into someone.
A fan, you might say.
A fan, yes. Do you want to talk about
that?
Yeah,
we were going into Welcome to Marwen.
We were in a hurry,
We were running a little bit late. Yeah. And not like late, like we were going to come in during the previews, but you know, I like seeing the previews.
Yes. Can we talk about why we were a little bit late?
Because I was 2 minutes late.
3 minutes. You were 3 minutes late.
I was
it was
2
minutes.
It was 2 minutes.
And
the time was 3:17.
On my
now,
phone,
first of all, your phone was wrong. You told me to be at your place at 3:15, and I even was thinking like that would only give us 15 minutes to get to the theater.
I will admit I should have said 3:10 when I was getting ready.
But I trusted you.
Well, you shouldn't have.
I won't in the future. Yeah. But admittedly, I was 2.5 minutes late. I'm giving you half a minute. Shut the fuck up.
Well, that's what I
was 2.5 minutes late, but 2.5 minutes in the grand scheme of things doesn't make much
right, because we were like 4 minutes late.
So it was both of our, we'll share the blame.
Yes.
Anyway, so we were kind of in a rush.
This is great podcasting.
They're hearing us bicker over whose fault it was that we were 4 minutes late.
But it's funny because I was getting ready and I was like, okay, Kyrsten's going to be here at 3:10. And then like I'm sitting on my couch.
I'm usually early. I'm an early person.
You're actually usually right on time.
Because I get here early.
Exactly. And then you just sit outside and wait.
And look up at your apartment and say soon.
But at like 3:12, I was like, wow, this isn't like Kyrsten. And then I looked and it's like, oh yeah, it was 3:15.
It's because I took a power nap right before I had to like start getting ready. Mm-hmm. And when I woke up, my cat was sleeping on me and I was so cozy. Yeah. And I just closed my eyes for a couple more minutes and I didn't fall back asleep or anything.
For 3 more minutes.
It was difficult to wrench myself out of bed because my cat was cuddling with me. And so that was why I was 2.5 minutes late.
3 minutes.
2 minutes. I'm taking your half minute away. I was 2 minutes late. So anyway, so
we get to the theater.
We pre-buy our tickets so that we don't have to wait in line. So we're going through and from behind I hear, "Hey, aren't you those guys from that podcast?"
Which, let's pause here, because I heard that and in my mind, like my immediate reaction was, oh, it'd be cool to be noticed for something like that.
Not
like,
that you thought you were.
Not even like, and also we were in a hurry, so I was like, even if an adoring fan, said that, I wouldn't.
But yeah, so I recognized the voice. It was this guy I know, Kirk Fields. I'm going to say his full name.
Okay.
Hope he doesn't get murdered because of this. I'm the #1 obsessive viewer fan, and he tracks him down and stabs him while he sleeps. So, hey, Kirk.
Yeah. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, thanks.
I'm going to take a wild guess and say that he started listening because you were on the podcast.
I mean, probably, but he recognized, like he would have just called my name if it was just me or like me and So
right.
He must have known that you are Matt from the Obsessive Viewer.
That's true.
Because he said, "Hey, aren't you those guys from that podcast?"
That's a good point.
So,
yeah.
But yeah, I know Kirk from local theater, so he's a great guy.
Nice. Yeah. Has he been in anything that I would have seen? Because you said King Lear.
Yeah, we did King Lear together. That's the only show we've done together.
Okay.
But he works around town. He's great. He's fantastic.
Okay, nice.
He actually, a couple years ago at Christmas time, he asked for my address, and I was, when people ask for your address around this time of year, you think you're going to get like a standard, Christmas or holiday card. And what he sent me was this lovely note, saying how much he, thinks I'm fantastic.
That's awesome.
Just saying really nice things. And he sent me this bear. It was a little bear that his mother made.
Oh,
it's
wow.
a homemade bear. And he said when she passed, he found a box of them and had been distributing them over the years. And that was one of the last ones. And I have it. I have it in
my God.
Place of prominence in my apartment.
That's so awesome. That's so nice.
I know. It was a very wonderful gift. It was very sweet of him.
Speaking of people asking for addresses and stuff, did Tony contact you about your address?
He did. He asked for my address. Yeah.
Did you respond to him?
Yeah, I gave it to him, and he said thanks.
Yeah, it's for a Christmas card.
I assumed.
Yeah, and I got mine today. And
I'm sure mine's waiting in my mail. I don't check my mail every day because I don't get a lot of mail.
Oh, gotcha. So. But I got mine today, and it's a very nice Christmas card and everything.
That's nice.
Yeah, and it's funny. It's really cute because on the envelope it says Matt and Pizza Roll Heart.
Oh. Yeah. One year, Ninja and I got a card to Kyrsten and Ninja.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's always nice.
Yeah, but thank you, Tony, for the very nice Christmas card.
I feel bad because I don't do cards or anything. And
ever since
it's maybe I should because I'm almost 30. I'm like a real adult. Maybe
right.
maybe I should.
Every Christmas, I think me and Pizza should do like a goofy little family holiday card. But I feel like that would be crossing a line, and like, it's like, in my head it would be funny, but then I also feel like people that I send it to, some of them might be like, is Matt okay?
No.
Okay.
Short answer, he's not.
Like, I feel like 26 and sending that would be funny. 32 and sending that is like a cry for help. But yeah, so today we're talking about a couple movies that we have seen. The big one we're going to talk about is Welcome to Marwen, but I think before that we're going to do a mini review of Bohemian Rhapsody, and I also want to talk to you about Blindspotting as well.
Oh yeah.
So we've got a packed episode that I'm going to postpone even further and say, I had something here, but I can't remember what I was going to say.
Wow.
Yeah, crap. What was? Oh, yeah. I was going to give you the opportunity. You recently got cast in a show.
I did.
In a few shows too.
Yeah.
So tell us about Almost
on fire
Maine.
lately.
I know.
Yeah, I got cast in a production at a theater called Mud Creek Players, and it's my first time working with them. I'm very excited. They have a wonderful theater. They've got a wonderful space. It's Almost Maine. The reason I auditioned is because I saw the show several years ago, and it's a beautiful show. It really is. It's like, I know I probably say that every show is going to be great, but like, this is going to be a really good show. It's a strong cast.
Right.
It's great
Your mic
director.
is on, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
don't do that.
I just panicked a little bit.
I was like, what is he staring at?
I interrupted you in the middle of promoting.
I thought you were like zoning out, like, I've heard this, and you were just like, nodding to be polite.
I'm going to just turn you up just a little bit. But anyway, sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So Almost Maine opens February 15th. The Thursday before, on the 14th, is of course Valentine's Day, but it's also pay what you want night. Nice. So if anyone was interested in going, they, minimum pay is $1. So get there early, because from what I hear, there's usually a line. And then opening night is buy one, get one free tickets.
Oh, nice.
Which is really cool. So what you have to do is call in or email to reserve your ticket and mention a cast member. So, just say, me, Kyrsten Leister, and you get buy one, get one free tickets.
Very
for
cool.
Opening night only, but
nice.
Runs for 3 weekends. It's going to be good. It's going to be, it's a great show. It's so funny and it's so charming.
Yeah. You were telling me about it, and I'm really excited.
You're going to love it, because you love rom-coms, and it's just like a one big rom-com.
Like,
so.
that's my thing.
Yeah.
Like, I was going to say, it like pay what you want night is, Valentine's Day. The day before Valentine's Day, the movie Isn't It Romantic comes out.
Isn't it? Is that the one that you really want to see?
I do. It looks,
with Rebel Wilson?
Yeah, Rebel Wilson, where her life turns into a romantic comedy. Yeah. It looks like it'll be a lot of fun. So that weekend will be jam-packed. Like, you can go see Kyrsten at Mud Creek Players and go see Isn't It Romantic. Yeah,
you can get tickets at mudcreekplayers.org.
Nice.
It's going to be a good show.
Yes, and as we get closer to it, I'm going to mention which showing I'll be at, so you can get the Obsessive Viewer bump.
Great.
And listeners can join me in seeing you perform. And it's Almost Maine, which is like almost Maine, the state.
Yeah. It's a small town in Maine, so Almost Maine.
Yes. Almost Maine, or as I like to say, when I go see it, it would be more like definitely supporting instead of Maine. Supporting, because I'll be supporting you. I'll definitely be there instead of almost.
Well, I guess that wraps it up for this episode.
Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Okay.
Yeah.
So we've seen some movies. I think that's all the
let's talk about what they are here to listen to.
So do you want to dive into Welcome to Marwen and then save the
Sure, let's do it. It's fresh.
Okay.
So
yes. So Welcome to Marwen is the new film from Robert Zemeckis. It is based on a real life story of Mark Hogenkamp, who created like a mini world, an art installation, I should say. Basically, the plot description is a victim of a brutal attack finds a unique and beautiful therapeutic outlet to help him through his recovery process. So, there is a documentary that is, was kind of the basis for this. The documentary is called Marwen Call. I haven't seen it, but it's about the true story. So, we were excited about this because the trailers, like I've been texting Fecus tonight, and he said that he said is Marwen as bad as the trailers look?
I thought the trailer looked good.
I did too.
It looked very whimsical.
Yes, very kind of cutesy,
and it looked like a movie that would like be so touching that it would make me cry. You know,
on the other hand, it did look like kind of that prime like Oscar bait kind of.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah. So like it's your shirt says Nap Queen.
It does say Nap Queen. Okay. I'm the queen of naps.
Nice. 3 minutes late because of nap. But anyway, so
it was 2 minutes.
It was 3. Anyway,
it was 2.
So yeah, and I was like the trailer I thought was like you said, it looked very whimsical and fluffy is the way I would describe it.
Sure.
And also just like it kind of went back and forth between like real like people and the dolls acting out, and like in Marwen, it was a meld of those worlds. And I thought that looked like an interesting concept. So I was pretty excited to see it.
And Steve Carell.
Yeah.
Steve Carell. Great cast.
Yeah. Steve Carell.
Leslie Mann, Janelle Monáe.
And Gwendolyn Christie. And
some people I've never heard of.
Yeah, there was someone else I was trying to think of. Oh, who played Roberta? Because I've seen her in
Merritt Weaver. She was, I don't remember seeing her in anything, but I really liked her. She gave a very honest performance.
That's what I know her from.
What?
Okay, so first of all, she was in Birdman, which you've still never seen.
No,
Birdman,
I never saw Birdman.
You and I need to watch it.
Michael Keaton.
Yes. You and I really need to watch it because I think that you'll appreciate a lot because it's about theater.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to see it. I just never got around to it.
Yeah. But she was also Tracy Abernathy in 2002's Signs. She was the girl at the pharmacy, I think, that Mel Gibson she went up to Mel Gibson.
She kept talking. Yeah.
She was like, I'm really scared.
Yeah. Yeah. She's like, I just really feel like I need to confess, Father.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Oh my God, I was obsessed with that movie. Let me tell you, my best friend Mackenzie and I, we would watch it like every time I would come over, which would be every weekend. We thought we were going to be filmmakers, and we would like analyze it. Like
That's awesome.
We were obsessed with Signs.
That's so awesome. Where is that? Like, why haven't you made a film?
I'm lazy.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I also have no skills in filmmaking.
I am going to
because I didn't pursue that.
And we're going to get your first film off the ground.
I don't have any film ideas except for fine. Back to the Future,
right?
Which will be the origin story, finally explaining how the doc met Marty, because it's never explained. John Mulaney's right; they never explain it, and we need to know how they met.
How I Met Your Doc Brown. So anyway. Welcome, Marwen. We were both primed for it. I'm of the thought that okay, schmaltzy, Oscar bait stuff, it has a place. I can look past that and enjoy it. However, I'll go ahead and say it. I was not a fan of this movie.
When it ended, you turned to me and said, "So what did you think?" And I said, "I did not like it nearly as much as I thought I would." Yeah. And I just couldn't get into it.
Yeah, it was really problematic. I will say the opening sequence that shows we're in Marwen and we're showing the dolls and everything. I thought for a second, I was like, I wish that the movie was this was the movie. I would watch this kind of animation style or this type of stop motion technique. I don't know exactly how they did it. Computer generated.
I'm sure it was computer generated. I'm sure they had the actors act out the scenes and they computer generated them.
Right. But it looked so just it didn't have an Uncanny Valley kind of feel. It looked like it was in the world. But I was like, I could watch an entire movie like this. I think it would be kind of cool. I also thought for a second when he finds there's a part where he lands and he finds an overturned Nazi Jeep. And all I thought was what if this was actually just Overlord, but in this style? I could see that.
I could get on board with that. Yeah.
But right from the outset, it's kind of just not the story of Mark Hogan Camp. It's tragic in that, he was beaten mercilessly, and
they kicked every memory out of his head.
They did. I feel like I heard that a couple times
from a couple different people.
Yeah,
in the movie.
I feel like that should have been the tagline of the movie since it was so repeated. But
welcome to Marwen, where they kick every memory you ever had out of your head.
Right. But
yeah, it's a tragic story, but
it is. But first of all, how do you want to go into this? Because we'll want to do a non-spoiler and then a spoiler. So we can really dive into the character in spoilers, but in broad terms, he's not a very sympathetic guy.
Yeah, I didn't feel a whole lot of sympathy for Mark.
Right. And one thing, like I told you, one thing that I was worried about going into it, which I was glad that they touched on this, I had read just in passing that the real Mark Hogenkamp was beaten because he was a crossdresser.
Well, just the shoes,
right? And I didn't check to see if that was like it, but like in the
movie anyway.
Yeah, in the movie,
it's just the shoes.
Yeah, but like in the trailers, I kind of thought like, are they just gonna just ignore
because I didn't know anything about that until we got into the movie.
Yeah,
in that opening scene when he finds the shoes and he puts them on, and I'm like, okay, well they're shoes of opportunity.
Yeah,
his caught on fire when he crashed his plane.
Right.
But then he kept wearing the shoes, and I was like, okay, all right.
And when he opens the case and we see the shoes and everything, and we see like all of the
underwear,
clothes and everything. I was just kind of like, oh, okay, cool. They're actually going to go for it. That's good. That's admirable, because it just seemed like the trailer just seemed like maybe this is putting more into it than what's there, but it just felt like, okay, this is kind of even though it's 2018 and
this is a weird guy thing, and we don't want to make this guy a weird guy, but they did. They put it in. But the problem with it was that they didn't fully explain it.
Yeah.
He had a throwaway line about how
a couple of times.
Where wearing a woman's shoes helps him connect to the essence of a dame is what he said. But I needed more.
Yeah.
I didn't know what that meant to him.
In the context of the full movie, also, it just seems more creepy than anything. Like they go to strengths, or they go to great lengths to tell us outright it's not a fetish.
Yeah.
It's just
because she even point blank, she's like, so you have a shoe fetish? Well, no, not a fetish.
Not a fetish.
No.
I just like the essence of women. I'm like, oh, okay,
well, what would you call it then?
That sounds a little serial killer-y, but we'll talk more in spoilers about his character. But yeah, I don't know. It just felt.
Yeah. There was no big emotional payoff like I anticipated.
Really like there are multiple like threads throughout the movie. Like one's him, being, confronted with the notion that he has to go to court to see the attackers sentenced, and then another is
the gallery opening, and is he going to go to the gallery opening or isn't? Because in the movie, he's this town he creates, he photographs, and he's had they say he's had multiple installations, or he's been featured anyway. And this was like a full gallery opening dedicated to him.
Yeah, and it was
and he was like on the fence for whether or not he was going to go for some reason.
Both of those things, and then there's also some other stuff we'll talk about in spoilers, but like for the most part, all of the dramatic tension just disappears without.
Yeah, it kind of fizzles out.
Yeah, it's like, is he going to go to the sentencing? Oh, I don't know. Yeah,
and then he just decides. Yeah.
And I mean,
for no reason.
Yeah, and like about halfway through the movie, there's a scene in the courtroom. And like, in the movie, I was like sitting there, I was like already kind of bored with it. And I was like, oh, good. We're at the end of the story. This is actually pretty good. Okay.
But
good.
Just kidding.
Yeah. And then we had another like hour, and I was just like, oh,
but yeah, the first courtroom scene was way more like dramatic and climactic than the final courtroom scene.
Absolutely. And we'll talk about that in spoilers, but I do like the way that the movie had a meld of,
he was suffering from PTSD from this attack that kicked every memory he had out of his head.
Right. And now we need to say it like 2 or 3 more times to meet the quota of the movie.
Right. So he would, certain things would trigger him and would And it was kind of weird because he never thought that he was being attacked by the people, but he always went back to Marwen because he was weirdly obsessed with World War II.
Yeah.
And that was one thing that bothered me is they never explained why, because even before he had every memory he had kicked out of his head, he was a World War II illustrator. And they said that he illustrated comic books and that he specialized, like he did World War II illustrations for comic books. And then Marwen is based on a fictional city in Belgium during World War II, and he fights Nazis in Marwen. They never explained why he was so obsessed with World War II, but he dressed in like a World War II suit.
Yeah. Like,
you know, and
it wasn't like a uniform, although like at the end, like he would have like what looked like a sailor hat from like the Navy, and then like at the end of the movie he has like a full like military hat.
He was wearing the full suit too.
He was wearing the full suit,
because he wore it to the courtroom, and he had the sports jacket over it. He wore that when he went to Nicole's house for the tea party too.
Oh yeah, that bothered me too, because like I get it. Like he's basically, the movie is him using his Marwen art installation as an escape, and it's bleeding into his real life. Like he's just connecting to it so much that it's just he's creating an escape for himself that's bleeding into his everyday life. But it also just felt just wrong for him to, you know, dress as a soldier when, like, cause I had thought, like watching the trailers, I thought that maybe he was like a vet that got attacked.
Wasn't he?
I don't think so.
When they showed pictures of his scrapbook, I'm pretty sure they showed a picture of him in uniform. I'm almost positive, as a matter of fact. And now, obviously, he wouldn't have served in World War II because it's a modern movie.
That's interesting. I'm going to look this up because that will...
But I'm positive there was a picture of him in the scrapbook in some kind of war uniform.
It did look like a sailor hat, but none of it seemed... Like, they didn't really...
But he didn't serve in World War II.
Right.
We know that. What are you looking for? What are you looking for?
To see if he was in the military. I thought you were talking to Pizza.
Who else are they talking to?
Yeah. See, I'm not seeing anything...
I'm positive there was a picture of him in uniform.
I remember that, because it looked like he had like a Navy uniform. But it doesn't say anything about it, like, in the movie, but... I don't know. Either way. Yeah. So,
but yeah.
Anyway, so the movie has a lot.
It had a lot of problems. There were just moments that made me uncomfortable.
Yes.
Like, as a woman watching his interactions with women.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very much...
And they passed it off as funny and charming, and it wasn't.
It wasn't. Like, it seemed
like... If I was his friend, if I was one of his friends, one of the people from the movie, I would not be comfortable with him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And it's... Like, the movie... tries to get us to sympathize with him as a character, but there are things in the movie that I'm just like, this, like, it just wasn't okay.
Yeah.
Like, it seemed like, the movie was very tone deaf to his actions. Like, it just, like, there are things, and we'll talk about them in spoilers, but they could have gone a more dramatic route. Like, because it's unnerving. It's unsettling. To a degree.
Yeah.
It's mentioned in the trailers that like the women of Marwen that he has in his little, town are all based on women that he knows. And like, that's cool, but like the way that they're utilized in Marwen and the way that he incorporates the women into it is just not something that I could get on board with, or get behind the character with.
And they try and they kind of try and play it off like, oh, it's, you know, it's Mark, he's simple, you know, he had every memory he ever had kicked out of his head.
And now we've reached our quota.
And, I just feel that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
Like, all these people are just kind of enabling him.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Yes. And that's one thing that we didn't talk about before. Like, the whole, I would even go so far as to say that the women characters aren't even that well, like, developed or anything. Because
well, no, they're not. Some of them aren't even in the movie.
Yeah. Like, we see Gwendolyn Christie has one scene with him in, like, real life.
And so does Janelle Monáe. One scene. And that's in a flashback. That's not even, she's not even active in the movie.
And then, and granted, they do have scenes in Marwen and everything. I'm sure that the actresses did.
Yeah, but that's not. But that's his fictionalized version of them. That's not them.
Exactly. And Carlala is a waitress or something at the bar that he works at, and like talk about like characters enabling his condition or his behavior and stuff. Like their scenes are 100% like just her asking him questions about Marwen as if it's a real thing. Like she's engaged with the plot and everything.
Well, one thing that really bothered, I like the character of Roberta because she seemed genuine, like she really wanted to help him, you know. She was making sure he was eating, and she was, offered to drive him to the court, you know, and everything. But like the way he went on and on about Nicole, like he was like weirdly obsessed with her just after meeting her, and she's like, "Oh, fun, tell me more," you know. And he's showing her pictures of the dolls making out with each other, you know, and she's like, "Oh, that's nice," and I'm like, "That's not nice.
It's not.
That's not nice."
So let me ask you this: when we first met, if I showed you pictures of dolls that looked like you and I making out, what would your reaction have been?
I would say, "Oh, that's Matt. He's simple. He had every memory he ever had kicked out of his head." No, I would be weirded out. I would not want to be alone with you. I certainly wouldn't invite you over to my house for tea.
Yeah.
I would probably have told your boss, like, "Hey, keep this guy away from me. Keep an eye on him. There is something wrong with him. I'm not comfortable. I need an escort out to my car every day." Because you never know. Like, you know, it is so dangerous. Like, you don't understand. You don't understand. It's so dangerous being a woman. It really is, because just knowing that any man could kill you at any time for no reason, like it can literally happen all the time. I'm never safe with you.
Any man.
Well, I'm safe with you.
Hey, I'm threatening.
Hey, I could kill you.
I could kill you.
I could murder a person. Watch the life leave their eyes.
Jesus. But
I'm a man.
Hey, now I might really kill you. But yeah, it's weird, and also add to the fact that like in the movie he lives right across the street from her.
Yeah.
It's like, it's creepy.
Yeah.
I was also gonna say something else, but I don't know if I want to say it. I'll cut it out if you want me to, but I'm gonna say it. But like, also, what if I went up to your desk and gave you MapQuest directions to where I live?
Which is something that a guy did, because someone I know gave him my address. This was a guy who was 20 years older than me. And someone who was definitely abusing steroids, so not emotionally stable.
Right.
And he had a thing for me at work, and a mutual contact who is not mad. It sounds like I'm sidestepping around it being you.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
I know it wasn't you. I know who it was. I just don't want to say who it was.
Right.
Gave him my phone number and my address, and
Your phone number too? Wow.
Yes, because he texted me for a long time.
Oh God!
I know, and I lived in constant fear that he would show up at my door because he knew where I lived, and he printed out MapQuest directions for me from my house to his, because he wanted me to come over that weekend and hang out with him and have dinner.
Yeah, to watch movies and
eat pizza,
grill out
I think.
or something.
Something like
it was
that.
Like grilling out or something.
So yeah, that's what it's like being a woman.
Yeah. And here, I just invited you to movies at midnight. So
yeah, that's totally not crazy.
Yeah. Anyway, so then
I should have kicked every memory he had out of his head. Forget you had a crush on
me. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Good times. That guy. Anyway. Other non-spoiler stuff, the special effects were cool. I liked the way that like the action occurred. Cause it was very like, I mean, well, for a PG-13 movie, it was.
Was it PG-13?
I think so, cause it was,
cause they definitely said goddamn.
and they said shit.
Yeah.
But they did,
he said, she said, "Are you shitting me?" at one point.
Yeah, it was PG-13. And it's funny because you pointed this out because I don't pay attention.
Yeah, at the very opening of the movie.
Yeah, his like call sign or whatever, he's in a plane.
Is Foxtrot, Uniform, Charlie, Kilo, which spells out fuck. Yeah. And I turned to you and I said, his name is Fuck.
Yeah. I'm like, what? No, it's Steve Carell. But I thought that was kind of a cool way to get around the censor, I guess. But, yeah, and there are so many problems with this movie. Mm-hmm. We should probably just dive into spoilers, although I will say before we do that, there's like this element to the dolls, like it's clearly his escape, his therapeutic expression of art and everything, but there's like this nefarious doll that's involved with it. It at times, it doesn't go like full like demonic possession or anything like that, but it's like clearly like this is a malevolent force within Marwen, and I feel like the movie didn't really explain or go into as much depth as it should have with
Deja.
With that character or with a lot of elements. Let's just go into spoilers.
Okay.
So I'm going to play a clip from the trailer and we're going to go into spoilers for Welcome to Marwen. If you don't want to be spoiled, check the show notes at obsessiveviewer.com/OV263 or in the show notes section of your podcast app and skip to our next segment. So we're going to go into spoilers right now.
I got beaten within an inch of my life for no reason.
One foot in front of the other. You got it, Mark.
Embrace the pain.
But I've created a world where I can heal.
What is all of this?
Welcome to Marwen. It's my art installation.
You're an artist?
That's a complicated story.
Well, tell me.
You really want to know?
Yes.
They kicked every memory I ever had out of my head.
Before we say anything, I have a Purple Heart that I got, and I have a question to ask.
Yes, I'll take your Purple Heart and I'll sell it on eBay.
Oh, okay, there you go. Can we talk about that scene first?
Yeah.
That was the most problematic scene.
When he proposed to Nicole after knowing her for maybe a week.
Yeah, it had to have been like a week.
So let's timeline this out.
Yes.
Nicole moves in across the street. He spies on her as she's moving in.
Yes, it is. Let's go real deep with this because I think that I can parse out when it takes place because Thursday was Meatball Day, I think.
But every day he said was Meatball Day, though.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Okay, anyway.
Well, every day was a Meatball Day, but every day he said that it was Meatball Day.
Okay, yeah.
So it's hard to track.
Yeah, so I think that the movie starts on like a Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
But
he definitely, the first time he goes to work is a Meatball Day.
Right.
Yeah.
And the, I think the, sentencing was the week later, and then that one got postponed 2 weeks.
Okay.
So the first one was on the first day in court was on the 13th.
So the whole movie takes place in the span of 3 weeks.
3 weeks, maybe 3.5 weeks. So he meets Nicole. He doesn't meet Nicole. He sees Nicole.
Yeah.
And then
from spying on her through the window, ascertains that her name is Nicole. Mm-hmm. She has some kind of boyfriend named Kurt,
who's a dick.
Mm-hmm. And then from there, he proceeds to buy a doll that looks like her.
Yeah. He seeks out a doll with her physical features.
Yeah. And puts her in Marwen. And immediately, his doll and her doll strike up a romantic relationship.
Yes. And in that span, he meets Nicole, and they strike up a friendship.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the most problematic things about it for me is like he recognizes that it's weird because when he first meets Nicole, he has the doll behind his back, and
he doesn't want her to see that. Oh, I've made a doll about you because that's weird, and probably women have said that's weird before,
right?
Like
and
Wendy
Roberta is also enabling it because she's introducing him.
Yeah, Roberta's like his closest friend.
Yeah,
she comes over, she checks on him, but he shows her the pictures of the dolls making out stuff. And even there's a scene with Roberta where she shows up and he's in the middle of photographing, and there's a doll of her in Marwen and her shirt is off, and she's like, "Hey, what happened to my blouse?" And he's like, "Nazis ripped it off." And she's like, "Again?"
Again?
Yeah, and it's like, and like, he makes all the dolls sleep in lingerie.
Uh-huh.
And it's very unsettling. If that was me, if someone that I knew made a doll of me and made it naked sometimes.
Yeah, like, first of all,
that's not okay.
First of all, I'm not gonna even make this joke, but, listeners, that's not a call for fan art or anything. But I was gonna say, like, you even shared on the podcast, like, you had an incident in middle school where a kid was drawing pictures of you naked.
Yeah.
And that ended up having to have a restraining order.
Yeah.
And
I'm kind of an expert on creepy men.
I will say that I was kind of proud of my joke that I had when we left, because I was like, okay, so I definitely should not show you Matt Key, my art installation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so yeah, and like, even before the tea party scene and the proposal scene, there's that scene where Nicole is in Marwen and she's looking at everything. She looks in the church and, like, he's being tortured, and she's like, first of all, that's kind of, I mean, it's his therapy and everything, that's fine, but it's also like,
it's an unsettling thing to see.
Yeah,
I
like,
get that. Yeah.
And like, she even gasps and everything, and then she's like, so what's going on here? And then he's like, well, it's a complicated story, and he tells her the story that has, like, her saving him and everything. And, like, that's fine, but it's also like, dude, you just met. Like, that's kind of weird.
What about the scene when, after she finds out that he enjoys wearing women's shoes,
right,
she brings him over a bag of her old shoes. Apparently they were the same size.
Right.
And she sees the dolls. Now, the doll of Nicole and the doll of Hoagie
are clearly making out.
She's like, oh, were they kissing? And, and he's like, yeah. And then he finds out that one of the pairs of the shoes that she gave him is a pair of stilettos, and he loves stilettos. And he's like, he's like, can I just say, from the moment I saw you, I knew you were a stiletto woman. That's why I put them on you. And she's like, you put them on the doll, you mean? And he's like, what? And she's like, that's why you put stilettos on the doll. And she's like, putting a very clear barrier there that, like, this, like, Nicole is not me.
Exactly.
I'm not.
Exactly.
And he totally disregards that.
Yeah. The fact that he disregards it should have been, like, a plot point to be like, hey, we need to, like, actually get him help because he's disappearing into this world that is not.
Yeah.
Like, it's.
Well, it also should have been, like, I don't know, if I was Nicole, I would be like, okay, enough. You know, I'll be friendly to him, but I'm not going to, let's say, invite him into my house, which she does immediately after.
Yeah.
And guess what happens? He proposes.
He does. And it's.
In a completely cringy way.
Yes, it is. To the movie's credit, even though it is completely tone deaf and everything, like, that scene was well done, because it's like, it's a static shot from, like, the back of the room pointed right at them on the couch. And he gets down on one knee. He has the purple heart.
Yeah, it's a purple heart that he bought at a hobby store. Yeah. Which, why would they have, like, that would have gone to a pawn shop,
it was like
anything.
A pawn shop, yeah. And also, like, okay, so to back up a little bit, he buys this small purple heart for Marwen, for the town of Marwen, for Hoagie in Marwen.
Which Hoagie then in Marwen to propose to the Nicole doll.
And I can't remember, did he tell Roberta that was his plan?
No, he did not.
Okay, but
when he's telling the story, he's telling it to Nicole and showing her the photographs, and then he proposes in the exact same way, thinking it's going to go the exact same way as it did in Marwen.
Well, that's the thing. Why did Roberta, like, show him the real purple heart?
Well, she
why? Like, I don't know what the point of that was.
I think because he obviously is a collector of World War II memorabilia, because he has the outfit and he has the hat and everything. So she's probably like, he'll love this, you know? He'll love this and he'll wear it and he'll think it's amazing, you know?
Right. Which that would also be fucking weird.
I agree, but it's also fucking weird that someone's family sold, you know, their deceased relative's purple heart.
Presumably.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the proposal. It's so cringy.
He gets down on one knee and he's got the purple heart in a case and he opens it like a ring box. Yeah. And she does her best to let him. She's like, I'm so sorry if I misled you with my intentions, but we are friends. We're friends and I want to have a friendship with you. And he does not move. Yeah. He doesn't react. She even gets up and leaves, and he
waits a while before he even moves,
and then runs out before she comes back. And
just to kind of draw a comparison from this movie to another movie that we saw this year and we reviewed on the podcast, it reminds me of something that you said when we reviewed 8th Grade. Not to go into spoilers about 8th Grade, but like I remember specifically on the podcast you saying that like when like you have memories of like guys making like an advance on, or like making a pass at you or something, and then you just being just on pure reflex apologizing.
Yeah, because that's what women are
conditioned to do.
Yeah,
and it's the same thing here.
Well, because otherwise they'll murder you. You don't know.
And
sometimes they still will. It doesn't matter.
But
yeah, that's she hasn't done anything wrong. Right. Why is she apologizing?
Says I'm sorry so many times, and it's like it's endearing because like she's being compassionate to him, but it's also like
he's the one who has misunderstood the situation. He's the one who should apologize to her.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
he doesn't,
and he doesn't respond at all. He even leaves. Like when she comes back.
And then the dolls continue their romance. Well, first he tragically and brutally murders the Nicole doll after she has rejected him.
That's right.
Which was also one thing that I was like, that's super fucked up.
Yeah.
That's horrifying.
Oh, yeah.
That he immediately went back and murdered the Nicole doll. And then Hoagie tries to save her life, and he's the hero and everything, and then he puts the magic stilettos on her and she comes back to life or whatever. But then they continue their romance. Like it's weird. It's weird. He even changes the name of Marwen to Marwen Cole.
Which we'll get into the whole Marwen and Mark and Wendy thing, because I want to touch on that.
Oh yeah.
But I, like, when I was doing my search about Mark Hogenkamp and if he was in the military, I just came across that the actual Marwen call that was the basis of the documentary and is the inspiration for this movie, was named after Mark, Wendy, and Colleen. And I kind of wonder if, and I have no basis for this, I'll have to do research on this and get back on another episode, but I kind of wonder if, did they like approach Colleen and be like, hey, can we use like, your name and everything? But she's like, no, this guy's fucked up. Like, we can't.
Yeah.
Like, no.
One thing and I hate to assume the worst about people or anything. Yeah. And what this man has been through was obviously very tragic and traumatic. But I wonder, like, we were discussing the movie immediately after we saw it, and it's like, you think they would have cut out some of that problematic stuff to make him, make a movie about him, make him look like a really good guy. Exactly. And we're like, what if they did cut out a bunch of really bad stuff, and this is what was left? Like, what if, I made the joke about like, they cut out the bit about him breaking into Nicole's apartment or breaking into her house in the middle of the night and standing over her and breathing. And, like, what if he really,
what if he made, well, this is a callback to another episode, but what if he made a Tumblr that was Sleepy Nicole?
But yeah, so Wendy, let's talk about Wendy for a second.
Yeah, because there's nothing in the movie, like, about her. Yeah. It's just, she's the woman that she's the waitress that finds him
after the night he had been beaten, he'd been attacked. She worked at that bar and she found him and saved his life. And he presumably became obsessed with her.
That's what's implied in it.
Yeah, she was a character in Marwen. Mm-hmm. He said that Marwen was for Mark and Wendy. Yeah. That, there are scenes that show that Hoagie and Wendy got married in Marwen. Right. And they say that she moved to California? California, yeah. I'm assuming that he freaked her out so much that she had to move.
That's what I'm assuming too.
He even kept Wendy's doll in a box that said RIP.
R.I.P.
Yeah, he had several others in there too. But like when they died in Marwen, so I'm assuming that after Wendy rejected him, got freaked out, moved away, he brutally killed her off. Right. In Marwen.
Well, and it's like, what's weird is that like the movie doesn't communicate enough at all. Because you and I made the same assumption that we thought that he was married to Wendy and then they got divorced.
Well, because they showed in his scrapbook that he had a wife at one point.
Yeah, and it says like, "What? I was married? Oh yeah, I was married." And like the notes it says, "Oh yeah, I was married." Was
because every memory he ever had was kicked out of his head.
Yeah, exactly. Tagline of the movie.
Yeah, but now. We know that whoever his wife was didn't leave him because of the attack. Because when he came back from the hospital, he had all those shoes, and he asked his friend Larry, "Do I have a girlfriend?" And Larry's like, "No, those are yours." So I'm assuming he was an alcoholic, and that caused the fallout of his marriage,
Yeah.
you know, and she left before the attack.
Right.
But we assumed Wendy was his wife.
Yeah.
And she wasn't. She was just some
a
woman who he was obsessed with.
Yeah. And like this movie, like,
And Nicole just replaced her.
So, exactly.
And who's going to be next? I mean,
yeah. And it's weird because, I mean, I guess the movie ends on a note that seems like he's healed of that, even though it's not, because he's like asking Roberta to get sushi and everything, and like that's supposed to, I got like a romantic kind of,
well, yeah, I think that was the intention, but
the intention.
I'm
don't buy
worried
it
for
'cause it
Roberta's
doesn't-
life, to be
Yeah.
honest.
It's like, and I get like, okay, yes, he has moved on. Like that's the point of the movie. And I get that sentiment, but I don't get the journey. Like cause the entire movie up until that point doesn't earn that redemption or that change of the character because
it was just so hard
Yeah.
to be sympathetic for him because
Exactly.
the whole time I was like, I know guys like you and I
Yeah.
do not like them.
Exactly. The movie as a whole, it should have been a completely different genre.
Yeah.
Like this was a suspense thriller about a crazy guy. And I feel
It was just told from the wrong
Yeah,
perspective.
Exactly.
That's all it is.
Exactly. And it's weird. It's funny because I'll make this comparison because I saw Green Book and I talked to you about it and I talked about it on the podcast,
Yeah.
but Green Book is kind of the inverse of that in that Green Book is this movie that's about basically telling the story of this racist guy who becomes not racist. But
Magic.
Yeah. And he does it by just basically like in the most sugar-coated way. Like Viggo Mortensen's character is very much like it's written by, the movie is co-written by the character, the real life guy's son. So like they're clearly,
So of course he's going to be the good guy in the movie and he's going to have a big redemption.
Yeah. And like this, on the other hand, is a movie that's about a real person, but it's like they don't have the awareness or self-awareness to really know that it's like they're not painting him in a good light.
Yeah.
And let's talk about the porn scene also.
Oh God, yeah. Okay, so he wasn't masturbating, but they did show a scene where he was watching porn, and you find out that one of the dolls in Marwen is based off of his favorite actress, who is an actress from the porn that he likes to watch.
And they like Susan St. James or something like that.
They didn't need to do that.
They really didn't.
And then he has a conversation with Nicole about it. He's like, yeah, she's my favorite actress from Backdoor Babes.
Yeah.
The Backdoor Babes series or something like that. Like very clearly the title of a porn.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And he's like, it's great.
Like he doesn't have the social skills or the self-awareness.
Which is weird because sometimes he does. He seems very self-aware at times, and there are other like they couldn't decide if they wanted to give him some kind of mental disability or anything.
Yeah, and like that scene is played for laughs, but it's also like, okay, there's this guy who is creepily like staring at this woman and stalking this woman, in certain terms. And now he's telling her about the porn that he watches.
Yeah.
It's like, there's such a disconnect, like with him as a character. Like you can't, like he's not a sympathetic character.
He's not.
And it's like the movie doesn't even really try.
Can we talk about the court scene where his lawyer has written him a letter that he wants him to recite at the sentencing because they want these guys to get like the maximum sentence and they're like showing how pathetic you are now is going to definitely get them a harsh sentence. So he goes and he's reading this letter that his lawyer has written for him, and then he like puts the letter down and then he speaks his own true thoughts. And as he does, they pan over to the 4 or 5 guys who attack them, and all but one, like the leader guy who is like the leader of this gang or whatever, the others are sobbing. And I'm like, please, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Okay,
Also,
I do not buy this.
And these characters have no arc in the movie at all.
Like, no.
Like,
they're seen in news footage because there's one scene where it's playing.
Let's talk about that.
There was so much coverage of this attack. First of all, he has so many news clippings. How many newspapers was there? Like, I'm assuming he lives in a small town. Everyone knows
Kingston,
him.
New York. I don't know how.
But he walks. He's able to walk everywhere. Everyone knows him and makes exceptions for him.
Right.
Because he's simple and he had every memory he ever had kicked out of his head. But
there's the scene, not to get away from the courtroom scene, but like there's the scene where he's at the hobby shop with Roberta, and like this is just something that just sticks in my craw so much. It's like it's a contrivance and just really shoddy storytelling that he is talking to Roberta. And then
the TV is playing in the background at the shop.
It's playing the news, and like she shows him like this SS figurine that happens to have the same name as Nicole's stalker boyfriend. She sure knows how to pick him. But
yeah, right.
But he like it triggers him, and like he slams his fist down, and it hits the remote. Turns the volume up on the TV,
and they realize it's a news report that's reporting on the upcoming sentencing of his case.
And not only that, he knocks the remote off the counter. The batteries pop out.
So Roberta scrambles to turn the volume down or turn off the TV, and he's having like a PTSD episode.
Right.
But the batteries come out and she can't get it.
It was like a terrible infomercial, what's like...
there's gotta be a better way!
Exactly.
But it was just like the perfect storm, you know?
It's so contrived and just silly and everything, and it's supposed to be a serious moment. So many things about this movie just rubbed me the wrong way.
I mean, you caught that the bad guys were all Nazis in Marwen, right? Yeah, but they were all sobbing, and it was like, please spare me. They would not,
right? And also,
like, it wasn't even that emotional of a statement that he made.
Yeah,
you know.
Oh yeah,
I expected something much more for all the build up, and it was just like, meh.
See, okay, there is a thing in movies that I've referenced this before on the podcast recently, even. Like, there are certain movies that are dramatic or comedic in nature, that, like, one of my favorite things is what I refer to as the quote-unquote surprise courtroom drama, where 3/4 of the movie is, like, standard comedy drama or whatever, but the last act takes place in a courtroom because that's the height of drama, and, like, it has a character doing an emotional monologue to wrap up the movie. And even as a fan of the surprise courtroom drama, I hated it in this movie.
And one more thing. They conveniently, so the first courtroom scene, he has a PTSD flashback when he sees the guy's face. The guy who attacked him. And so he leaves, and his lawyer asks for a 20-minute recess, and the asshole of a judge is like, I'll do you one better. Rescheduled for 2 weeks, conveniently on the date of his art installation opening.
Which, that lining up like that wasn't even a point, like, didn't even become a point of drama or anything. Like,
because they're at different times. I think the whole time I'm thinking he's gonna have to choose one or the other. You know, he's gonna have to, like, do I go to my art opening or do I go to the courtroom and do I make sure these guys go away?
Rescheduling it and making a point to show us that it's rescheduled.
But the court thing is in the morning and the art thing is at night, and so it's not an issue at all. But even Roberta, like she left that voicemail. I didn't realize the timing when the judge rescheduled. But then Roberta helpfully says, "Wow, I can't believe they scheduled the sentencing on the same day as the art opening. What are the odds, huh?" And so then I'm like, oh, thank you, Roberta. That was very helpful. And but also I'm like, oh no, drama, like, finally.
But it's not. And, like, even the ease with which they did that, like, the judge just, without even a second's thought, was like, I'll do you one better. Instead of doing the 20 minutes, let's just reschedule for 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, didn't check anybody's schedule.
Didn't check any schedules or anything. Like, he was gonna, like, 20 minutes, hey.
He's like, give me 20 minutes and I'll bring him, I'll come back and we'll see if we can try again. Like, what is so hard about that?
Right.
You don't have to be a dick, dude.
Yeah. Like, good God. I will say that the courtroom scene, the first courtroom scene was fairly well done in the grand scheme of things. Like, the action that breaks out in his imagination and then it cuts to just him leaving.
Just running.
Yeah, that was effective. And I liked those little interludes in the movie, but God damn, I did not like the movie. It was a movie that just did not know what it wanted to be or didn't know what it should be. And it makes me curious to see the documentary Marwen Call, because I want to get context for what the fuck I just saw.
I'm done.
Yeah,
I'm done.
Burped a little bit. Anyway, So yeah, on a scale of 5 stars, what would you rate this movie?
Oh, I'd give it 2 stars.
Yeah.
I mean, and I
Same
feel like that's
here.
generous. It's because the performances were okay.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, for what they were given, it was, you know, Steve Carell was good, but and the animation, some of the scenes were very well animated.
That's the only reason why I would.
I
give
do
it 2
not want to
stars.
see it again.
Yeah, same here. So will it be on your top 10 list that I'm going to force you to make?
That's a tough one, you know.
Yeah.
No.
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 Yeah. Oh man, I forgot. I was going to tell you about this. Okay. Yeah. Crap. Anyway.
Oh my God! Just make a decision.
I
Matt.
know. Okay, so that's our review of Welcome to Marwen. Before we get into our little mini review of Bohemian Rhapsody and everything, I do want to share with you a story because I told you to remind me to tell you a story.
And I said I will if I don't forget. And
you
look,
did
I
forget.
forgot.
So I'm gonna speak in broad generalizations about the listeners of this podcast. There's not a single listener of this podcast who does not adore when I bring up a shitty theater experience story.
They love it when you suffer.
Exactly.
Basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny. Yeah, they do.
I know I do.
Yeah. Well, one of our Patreon subscribers, Robert, he gave a recommendation for me and Mike to review a movie called Martyrs. And it's apparently like this very like deeply troubling like horror movie that like he was like very emotionally affected by.
Okay.
And so that, and then Tony has requested that me and Tiny review Heart Beeps, which is apparently like one of the worst movies ever made.
What's it called?
Heart Beeps.
Heart Beeps?
Heart Beeps.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure I
Beeps.
heard that correctly.
Are you trying to like, okay.
I thought you said heart beats.
Okay.
But it sounded like you said heart beeps, and
Right.
it definitely should be called heart beats and not heart beeps.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, yeah.
Heart beeps is definitely funnier.
Right. It's called Heart Beeps, and it's apparently one of the worst movies ever. So,
Great.
like, I just love that, like, our listeners are, you know, making me suffer in their own unique ways. But anyway, so, I don't know if you guys know this, but I have AMC A-List. I talk about it a lot.
What?
Yeah, AMC.
What is this? I've
It's
never-
Well, they don't pay us, so fuck them.
Well, they certainly won't now.
No. But, so I, like, we've talked before, like, I like to go see movies all the time. There are certain movies that I know that you're not going to want to see, so I went and saw Mortal Engines.
Yeah. Was not on my list.
No.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie.
I didn't think it would be.
Yeah, it's not as...
It's like young adult steampunk.
Exactly. Young adult steampunk, like the narrative, like it's like none of the characters I couldn't give 2 shits to any of them. Just not a good movie. But, and also it bombed at the box office. And I saw this like the Tuesday after it opened. So I get there and there is one other guy in the theater.
Oh.
Yeah.
And you're sitting right next to each other.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. So he's sitting like 3 rows ahead of me. I'm sitting in my preferred seat, like right dead center of the screen, kind of high up, not the back row, but like a couple rows down from the back. And so the trailers are starting and I'm like, okay, cool. This is good. It's just gonna be me and this guy. And it's gonna be good. So the trailers are going. We're like a few trailers in. And then I see these 2 women come in. One was kind of older. The other, I think, she was either in her 20s or she was like a teenager.
Okay.
And so they're walking up the steps, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh, that would be kind of annoying if they were like, if they sat right next to me because it's all reserved seating. Then I was in H7. Then I hear the older woman say, it's H5 and H6. And so I'm like, in my head, I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, literally.
Why would you deliberately choose 2 seats next to one of the only other 2 seats taken?
There are 2 occupied seats in this theater, and you chose 2 seats that are right next to each other. And it wasn't like it was one of those like really tiny theaters. It was still like a medium-sized auditorium. So like the teenage girl, I'm presuming that she was a teenager, sits sits right next to me, and she's like, sorry. And I'm like, oh, you're fine. So I'm like sitting there and like, like 10 minutes into the movie, I'm like sitting there thinking like, should I move? Cause this is weird. I like my personal space. Also, she starts messing around on her phone a little bit.
During the movie?
During the movie.
Oh, I hate that.
Me too. And so eventually, like,
why would you pay to go see a movie?
I know.
If you're just gonna sit there on your phone.
I know. Oh, yes. Okay, we're gonna discuss this. But anyway.
I like how you're like, minor segue.
Yes.
But
minor segue. Actual subject of the podcast. But, fortunately, like 10 minutes into the movie, she switches seats. So she sits like farther down the aisle. And, I'm presuming her grandmother or aunt, I don't think she was her mother, gets up and sits like right next to her. So they're down the aisle. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So I'm watching the movie. The movie's not good. I'm getting distracted because they're talking, like they're having conversations. And then like you and I will talk during a movie but it's like, oh, his name is fuck. Exactly. They're like talking about like their lives and they're having conversations like they're at a bar.
Yeah.
And 4 times within quick succession of one another, the younger of the two sets off the flash on her phone, like full bright flash, like 4 times in the span of like maybe 45 seconds. And then throughout the movie, she's getting up, walking out of the theater, leaving for like 10 minutes, and then the older of the two would get up and like she's old enough that it seems like she's painfully getting up, having to walk down the steps, go out, and then they both come back in, and then the younger one would go out again and then come back in. Like at one point she says like, oh, so-and-so says hi or something. So I'm thinking maybe she knows someone that works at the theater.
Or she's going out and taking a phone call or something.
Maybe, yeah. And so like so then at one point the younger of the two leaves, and then the older of the two, her phone rings. She actually answers the telephone.
Oh my God.
She has a conversation. Granted, it's like a 15, 20-second conversation, but just the obliviousness of this. I'm like, even if there are only 2 other people here,
like, I still paid for my ticket. Like, let me enjoy this bad movie.
And and that's the thing. So, like, I kept thinking, and like, I kind of started wondering, and like, what compels a person to do this? And like, it was clear, like,
maybe it's that bad of a movie.
Well, I don't think that's it. Because they wouldn't fucking know, because they
didn't see it.
They didn't see it. I would guess that they probably only watched maybe, I would say maybe 20 to 25% of the movie. And that's being generous. But I kept thinking like, okay, because when they first sat down, like as the trailers were going, the younger of them was like, oh, that's weird. Why aren't the lights down? And then I thought there was something else, but I can't remember. But anyway, and also, the fact that they picked seats right next to me.
Yeah.
It's like,
so weird.
It's so weird, but it's clear that like, okay, these 2 people, clearly they don't go to the movies as frequently as we do. Like, this is maybe, I'm guessing, probably like the first time in like a while that they've been in the movie theater. But still, like, the fact that like, if you're gonna go see a movie, like, even if you don't go that often, like, it should still be like did they just go to the movies and just randomly pick a movie and then sit down and just use that as a social environment?
You know when it's even worse is during a live theater performance.
Oh, yes. I can imagine. Have you ever had like something like that?
Oh, yeah. I've been on stage. Phones go off all the time, and it is distracting. And then like, sometimes you don't even hear it, but like the thing is when you get on your phone, it lights up your face.
Yes.
The whole like, the audience area is dark.
Right.
I can fucking see you perfectly.
Yep.
Like, you think because it's dark I can't see you? It lights up your face. But I was at a show. I wasn't in the show, but I was at a show. It was a show at UND, my alma mater. And it was a dinner theater last year, so about this time last year. And toward the beginning of the show, maybe about 10 or 15 minutes in, a phone went off. It was a loud ringtone, and the actors, they keep going,
It wasn't like a donkey noise.
It was not a donkey noise. Come on, it wasn't a wedding, okay?
Right.
And it's this old woman, and she answers it, and she's like not bothering to quiet her voice at all. She's like full volume. Hello?
Oh,
well, I'm right here. Can you see me?
You told me about
I'll stand
this.
up and wave. And her husband was somewhere in the theater looking for her, and then everyone finds him when he's talking just as loudly on his phone. People are shushing him, and he's like, "Don't shush me!" And he's like this old ass dude. Like, what are you gonna do? It's infuriating because they couldn't find each other. It went on for a long time.
God,
it's so frustrating. It's worse because I'm an actual person up here.
Right.
I can actually see you. At least those are actors in a movie. They don't know that you're actually doing that. You're just disrupting the audience. But here you're disrupting the audience and the people who are actually acting.
And what kills me is like when they open their phone or where they look at their phone and we see the backlight and everything. It's not like they even have the decency to turn the dimmer all the way down. It's like full like brightness.
Yeah,
like
it always is. Yeah.
I've had many a fantasy of just going up and grabbing a phone out of someone's hand and just chucking it at the screen.
Don't you wish you could just do that?
I really do. Yeah. But the other thing that I don't get that infuriates me is the idea of someone being shushed or being corrected in a situation like that, and then not being able to process that. Not like using that as like immediate, like you said.
Maybe I'm being an asshole. Maybe I
being like, don't shush me. Like what? Like
that's exactly like when you're driving and like someone cuts you off or something like that, and you honk at them, and then they flip you off. Like
it's like
you are wrong here.
And I know that we always reference John Mulaney, but it's like I hear you. I agree.
I also don't want to be doing what I'm doing right now, and I wish I would stop.
Yeah. But it's just, I just don't get the obliviousness of it. But like, while these two women were doing this, were subjecting me to this ordeal.
Wow. I am sorry for the trauma that you have suffered.
I know. Yeah.
But did you have every memory you ever had kicked out of your head? Maybe then they'll make a movie about
that.
you.
Made me want to have that happen.
I wanted the memory of that movie going experience.
Honestly, I will say that they weren't as distracting as like other experiences I've had. But like the movie was so dull and uninteresting to me and just bad that I started like my mind started to wander a little bit and think like what are other, like aside from movie theaters and like theater, like, what are other, like events like that require that the expectation is that people are quiet and not disruptive? Cause like, if you go to a concert, like you can sit there and talk to your friend during the concert. If you go to like a sporting event, you can have, like, it was like they were at like a concert or sporting event. Yeah. It's like, that's just what they were. That's how they act in those kinds of situations. But like, why can't people understand that a movie theater is different?
I think that like, now this was in relation to theater, but it was an article that I read at some point when I was in college where how people are so desensitized to public viewings of stuff like that, like because you're so used to watching a movie or something on your couch at home, and you can pull out your phone and whatever, and you're kind of half paying attention. It doesn't matter. You can carry on a conversation. And so when you get in a public setting like a movie theater or a theater house, you don't know how to behave because you've been conditioned to entertainment. Time is my time, and I can do whatever I want. And some people cannot break themselves of that.
That's really
they've been so habitualized.
Yeah.
So
and like I'm somewhat guilty of that myself a little bit, but with caveats. So like I will take out my phone and look at it if I'm at a movie theater on like a couple of conditions. One, I'm in the back row. No one can, like, not even like with the way that the stadium seating is at the AMCs we go to, it's like the railing, like I don't have a visual, like there's no line of sight between me and the people in front of me. But I'm not sitting there like messing around on my phone and everything. I'm like looking at the time to try to gauge how much time I have left in the movie.
Okay, yeah.
Or like when I saw The Old Man and the Gun earlier this year, I was in the back row and I looked up like the runtime or something like that. But like, if I'm in the back row and someone else is in that row, the phone is gone. And like, I have a thing on my phone where like yours, it's a display that shows the time and everything.
Yeah, so you don't have to like activate it or anything.
Exactly. So like what I'll do is if I'm like, because when I get a ticket, I'll add it to my calendar from the AMC app, and it'll show like the end time of it. So like I'll like have my phone like on like either the seat next to me or in my lap with the face down, and what I'll do is I'll like flip it over, wait for the display to come up, and I'll kind of like look at it discreetly. And so, like, I'm not disrupting anything. I go to great lengths to not disrupt people's experience.
It's just common courtesy.
Yeah.
I like how you said this was going to be a minor segue.
I know.
And here it's been like 20 minutes.
Yeah. So, Bohemian Rhapsody. Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
We saw it, and how's it sat with you? Because we saw it a couple of weeks ago.
It was good. I liked it. I did. Mm-hmm. It was entertaining. Mm-hmm. Rami Malek. The whole cast was great.
Yeah.
Rami Malek he gave a wonderful performance. Mm-hmm. As Freddie Mercury. Mm-hmm. It was good. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
My opinion of it has wavered a little bit since we saw it. Like, I thought it was perfectly adequate. The music performances in it, like, which obviously Rami Malek didn't do the vocal work.
Yeah, I saw someone posted online something about like Rami Malek isn't even singing in the movie; he's just lip syncing. That's barely acting. Like, what is he supposed to do?
Right,
compete with the greatest vocalist of all time?
Exactly.
Is that what you want him to do? They didn't even let Jennifer Lopez sing in Selena, and she is a singer.
Right,
she's known for singing.
That's a really good point.
And they didn't even let her sing in that.
Yeah. Which, small tangent, I think Selena, like, they're making, like, a Selena, like,
yeah,
TV
like on
show
Netflix or something.
Yeah. But anyway, like, the movie was fine, but, like, shout out to friends of the show, Pat and Tyler over at the Nerds You're Looking For podcast. They did a review of it in which
they changed your mind.
Well, sort of. Like, they put it into more context for me because they talked about some of the discrepancies between real life and the movie. And like, there are some, like, there's a big point in the movie where the band breaks up and then they have to come to an understanding that they'll need to get back together for Live Aid. And that's a
one
big
more
dramatic
performance.
thing. Yeah. In real life, they were still touring. Freddie Mercury didn't even have his AIDS diagnosis until after Live Aid. So like, they completely like fabricated like
I get that they took artistic liberties with some of the plot points, but how does that change your opinion of the movie?
It just makes me feel like there was and apparently there was the negative kind of like the fighting between the band members wasn't really that truthful. I guess some of the surviving band members were like producers on the movie, and like they purposely like it felt like they were making themselves in a good light rather than, you know, being truthful. But in it, I guess it doesn't necessarily make me dislike the movie. It just makes it feel like there's this artistic license to it, but it also feels disingenuous, like they're creating drama.
Yes, but that's every movie that's based on a true event. Because they have to make it cinematic, and they have to create drama somehow. If the band is happy and working together the entire time, you have no drama. That's not an interesting story.
Right. And that's
from
fair.
A purely like, as someone who has written plays and who has taken playwriting classes, and that is not an interesting story dramatically.
And that's fair. That is totally fair. But I have to wonder if there's a way to make a dramatic story out of it.
Not without conflict.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah. Well,
I'm going to say hard no.
Okay.
Without any kind of conflict. But I mean, you cannot have an interesting story.
But I mean, I wonder if there was any conflict in this, like in the story of Queen or the story of Freddie Mercury that could have been used in it rather than fabricating this kind of contrivance.
Maybe.
Yeah. But anyway.
It doesn't change my opinion of the movie. I still think the movie was good.
I will say it does not change how I felt about the Live Aid performance in the movie.
It was great.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah. If you watch like the footage of the actual Live Aid performance, it was like shot for shot. It was like it was amazing how perfectly they nailed it. Yeah.
And the movie did a really good job of just reminding me how much Queen has.
Yeah.
How much
what a prolific band,
yeah,
you know.
Absolutely. Also, apparently the relationship that's in the movie, that's him, that he was engaged and everything and married, I don't think that was real either. But
I know she was a real person.
Yeah,
because they mentioned her at the end of the movie,
right? And I think that they were like engaged briefly or something. I don't think it was as deep as a
relationship. Yeah,
but there was something. Oh, apparently I didn't catch this cameo or anything, but the truck driver that goes into the restroom in that one scene, that was Adam Lambert.
Oh, the singer?
Yeah, who is touring with Queen now. So
I didn't catch that either.
Yeah. So
that's
that was
a fun,
an interesting
nod.
Little thing. But the movie, I agree. Rami Malek did a fantastic
Yeah, he completely
job.
Transformed himself physically,
absolutely.
Verbally. I'm sure it was very difficult
with the prosthetic teeth and everything.
Yeah.
I was wondering that, how can he? I was thinking, how can he do that? I don't understand.
He really did. He was unrecognizable as himself,
right?
And he really did become Freddie Mercury. It was a very good performance.
Yeah. So yeah, and I think that maybe if I revisit it, it might be better, but also another part is that it just felt a little bit formulaic to the music biopic genre.
Sure.
And it just,
but I don't have a problem with that because that's what it was.
Right.
It's what I expected.
Sure.
So I thought it was fun. I was entertained the whole time.
Would it rank on your top 10? Do you think?
Probably not.
Okay. Nice.
It probably would if I was a bigger fan of Queen, if I was from a generation older than myself.
Yeah.
If I had grown up with Queen.
Because you're actually 15 years old.
I am 15 years old.
Yes.
I'm not a woman. I am a girl.
You're a girl. Yes.
I'm a girl.
Jesus. Anyway.
But yeah, I thought it was a good movie. I was entertained. Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was fun to listen to all the songs. And
yeah, I agree.
That was the highlight, was listening to all the music. And
totally. Yep.
I'm not nearly as excited for the Elton John movie.
I was
Rocket
just
Man.
going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Because, there's a couple Elton John songs that I like, but...
Same here.
And also, now, I do like the more whimsical, it's clearly not grounded in reality. It's based on a true fantasy,
right.
is what it says in the trailer. Yeah. It looks like it could be entertaining, but I'm not nearly as invested in Elton John as I am in Queen. I just said I'm not that invested in Queen.
And what I don't get about it is it kind of seems weird that they're making what's presumably a music biopic of Elton John when Elton John's still alive.
I'm sure is he a producer or something
probably,
on it?
And that makes it seem like it's very it's very Barbra Streisand.
Barbra Streisand. Barbra Streisand. Thank you.
But it just seems really just kind of weird.
Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe it'll be amazing. I don't know.
Rock it, man.
Yes.
That's the William Shatner.
Shatner.
Which one time I was at a bar that played live music and they took requests and I wrote
That's awesome.
Rocket Man, but the William Shatner version.
Nice.
And they wouldn't play it. God. And I was so upset. It was all I wanted to hear. I requested it 5 times in one night and they wouldn't play it.
I was at a bar one night with my brother and a bunch of his friends.
Because you don't have any friends of your own?
Yeah, well, pretty much.
Yeah.
But he, it was a piano bar. It was, what's the word? Howl at the Moon.
That's where I was. At Howl,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And I put in a request. I don't think I even put in, I was so drunk. I wrote out a request and didn't. It might still be in my wallet.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Let me grab it. I'm going to grab it.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not going to grab it.
Okay.
Yeah. It basically said please play, how did it go? Please play bad boys. What you gonna do when they come for you? For my brother Ray, because he is a police officer.
And then you never turned it in.
And I never turned it in.
And the whole time you're probably like, why aren't they playing my song? Because it's in your pocket.
Exactly.
Well, meanwhile, I respectfully requested Rocket Man, the William Shatner version, multiple times, and they didn't. They just would not play it. I'm like, do you guys just not like Rocket Man? Do you not like me?
Oh God. So that's our mini review of Bohemian Rhapsody. Yeah.
You don't have to boo it, Matt. You don't have to be rude.
I didn't.
Freddie Mercury's dead. What's wrong with you?
R.I.P.
Show some respect.
So after seeing Bohemian Rhapsody, we came back here a couple weeks ago and we watched Blindspotting.
We did.
Yes, and I was very excited for you to watch it because I felt like it's a movie that you would enjoy. Also, you being a fan of Daveed Diggs.
Yeah,
and,
I do like hip hop, and
yes,
I do like Daveed Diggs. I'm a fan of his. He was in Hamilton, of course, and also he has a career as a rap artist,
right?
And another rapper that I really like is Watsky.
Yes,
and both Daveed Diggs and the other guy, Ravioli.
That's
Ravioli.
Yeah. I mean, hip hop names are getting kind of tame these
Ravioli.
days. Ravioli. Raphael Castle.
Hip hop.
Anyway.
Hip.
Good God.
Hooray! They're featured on a Watsky song called
is it called Exquisite Corpse?
Exquisite Corpse. Thank you. I was like, Beautiful Corpse? That's not right.
Right.
Yeah, Exquisite Corpse with several other great rappers. And it's a great song. But yeah, Watsky had a little cameo.
Yeah.
In Blindspotting. He was the guy who worked at the vegan restaurant. Yeah.
At the very beginning of the movie. So without spoiling it or anything, what do you think of Blindspotting in the movie? I'll read the plot description real quick, courtesy of IMDb. After I just took it out. While on probation, a man begins to reevaluate his relationship with his volatile best friend. Best friend. What'd you think of Blindspotting?
I really liked it.
Nice.
It was so real for today's political climate.
Yeah.
We always talk politics.
Right.
But I really honestly can't imagine how, as terrifying as it is being a woman, like being a black man today, you have to police yourself constantly.
No pun intended.
Yeah. And just the PTSD that Daveed Diggs' character goes through is just, it's very there's such a stigma, especially in the black community, against mental illness. And there's sort of a suck it up mentality,
right?
From what I understand. And it was great to see a black man going through that and working on it and trying to get better.
Yeah. And just the way that the movie demonstrated the tension of who he is, like him being tense, being a black man who is, days away from being off of probation.
Yeah, and having to constantly live on edge.
Yes. And there are moments in the movie where I was I was clenching my buttocks so hard. Because I was so certain the movie was gonna lead to a certain.
Oh God, I was so worried.
Yeah.
I was.
Daveed Diggs, I think, did such a great job at performing in this movie. He has this quality to him that is so, I don't know how exactly to describe it, but kind of laid back.
He's just very relatable.
Yeah.
He kind of feels like an everyman.
Exactly. He has this kind of calmness to his tone, but the content of what he's saying is he'll be at the opening scene, he's in a car, he's 3 days away from being off probation, and there are 6 guns in the car. Yeah. And he's like, all right, I need to get the fuck out of this.
Very funny. Yeah, he was just very accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And as the movie goes on, he more and more situations happen, and the relationship between him and his friend in the movie, played by Raphael Castle.
Miles. Colin and Miles.
Their dynamic and the way that, there's one very powerful scene.
Yeah. After they go to the party and then,
Yeah.
That was incredible. Now that is a well-deserved payoff.
Yes, exactly.
It built, and we finally got the explosion of emotion that we needed.
So it was great.
And then I don't want to go into spoilers or anything. But
after that,
the scene at the end with the officer, where he finally gets he gets his closure.
Yeah.
I guess.
Oh yeah. his kind of big moment in the movie. And like
that was beautifully done. It was amazing. God, it was amazing. It was amazing.
It was one of my favorite like movie moments of 2018.
Yeah.
And I read some reviews that like a couple of reviews were like, I could have gone without that. That was kind of weird.
No, I loved it.
Yeah, I'm like first of all, this is how he expresses himself, and he's doing so with such raw emotion. Like, oh my God, like that performance was so great.
Well, it was the outlet that the character needed. It was.
Exactly. Oh yeah.
So, and deserved.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So do you think Blindspotting will be on your?
I'm not sure.
Okay. Interesting.
Maybe. It was really good.
Yeah. Also, I will say that not to go into spoilers or anything, but like the Blindspotting, the way it's mentioned title,
in the movie.
The title in the movie, like the significance that the title has in the movie, in the dialogue, I thought that scene was just really beautifully done. And really brought home.
I was wondering why it was called Blindspotting
for
a while until we got to that, but it was it was good.
Yep. So really good movie. I think it might be on my top 10. I really need to finalize that. I'm
strong performances.
Really
it was
strong.
Yeah. Now I know that Daveed Diggs can act because he's been on Broadway.
Right.
And you kind of got to be a good actor for that. But Raphael Castle, he was amazing.
Yeah, I had never seen him in really anything.
He played a character who had a lot of vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And who played them off as like, the stronger he was, the less vulnerable he could be was his mentality.
That he was hiding.
Masking,
masking.
With this machismo energy. And he had some really beautiful moments in the movie.
Yep. Totally agree.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think anything more on Blindspotting?
No, I think that's it.
Cool.
It was good. I really enjoyed it.
Oh yeah. So let's kind of wrap up with our
LOSTPoint. We could just briefly touch on. We watched a couple episodes.
Yes, we have watched. We just watched episode 3 of Flashpoint, and episode 3 of Lost. And I know, Kyrsten, that, and I think, is this the first time we're talking on the podcast since?
No, we talked once. We talked after we watched the pilot episodes.
Right. Yeah, so we are covering the last 2 episodes that we've watched, which we don't have to go like episode by episode or anything. But I know that you were like, there was a span of a couple of weeks between us watching the episodes, and I know for a fact, you don't even have to agree. I know that you were just dying to get back to Lost. You were, I'm sure, of those agonizing over those 2 weeks, wondering like, what is this French transmission? You're right, Charlie. Where are they? Like, what is going on this island? So, how excited were you to go back and watch episode 3, Tabula Rosa? I'm mispronouncing that, I'm sure. A Kate-centric episode. See, she's speechless.
Well, there was that one part where her boobs were wet, and I was real confused about that. It started to rain, but only her boobies were wet.
Well, she was in the tent and
it didn't
she was
make
fighting
Matt
with the
admit
man.
it didn't make sense.
It didn't make sense.
She walks out and her boobs are wet. Like it looks like she's been lactating.
And I said to you that they had to get the 18 to 24 male demographic.
So
yeah.
Her boobs were real wet.
Yeah. I know.
Okay. No, it was good. It was good. I liked it.
Nice. Good.
Yeah. No, the one thing you were talking about, like convenient plot points, when Jack had Kate's mugshot, and he conveniently, like when he took it from the agents, whoever he is, from his jacket pocket,
who would not tell him what she did.
Yeah, he's having full conversations with Jack, and he's like, I want to talk to her. Yeah. She's dangerous. Don't trust her. He's Snake Plissken, basically. Don't trust her, call me Snake. And I'm just like, just tell him what she did. You know, like no one would be that mysterious in real life. But then Jack he gets the mugshot and he's like, I'm not going to tell anyone. And he folds it up and sets it face up in the tent. And Hurley comes in. He's like, dude. And Jack's like, oh no, you found out the secret. Like if it was a secret, you would have folded it up and put it in your pocket. You wouldn't have left it sitting out face up when people were going in and out. Like,
but it's all part of the mystery.
It's not part of the mystery. There's nothing mysterious about it.
Also, if you're I don't know if you're taking issue with the fact that like the marshal wouldn't tell him what she did or anything, or wouldn't speak and everything. You are in for a long 6 seasons. Like this is gonna be fun.
I just didn't understand why he just wouldn't say what she did.
It's like hey, don't trust her. Don't trust her. What did she do? And also, I had some overhead luggage. You need to take it down. I had some candy bars and stuff. Also, I have a wife. She's in Wyoming, oddly enough. Isn't that weird? She's in Wyoming and I was in Australia.
Okay,
but, that's
hey,
just
why don't you stop?
Yeah. But yeah, that's anyway.
So what'd you think about Flashpoint?
Okay, so Flashpoint. We've watched 2 episodes since we last checked in. I do want to mention a couple things. One is the episode we watched today had Eric Knudsen, yes, who was in Scream 4.
Yeah, he was good.
He was very good. Yeah.
Talk about characters you want to be sympathetic for.
Yes, they definitely.
He's no
demonstrated
Hoagie.
a lot of right. They definitely demonstrated a lot of sympathy for him, and it was a good episode. It was very, very sad, very somber. But what I want to mention specifically is episode 2 with the heart transplant patient.
Yeah, that's a good episode. That's a really good episode.
That's a very good episode. And one thing that I really loved about it that I kind of after we'd watched it, I kind of sat on it a while, is that one of the things that I like about the concept of the show is that it is humanizing these characters.
Yeah, Greg Parker has this thing that he says they're not a bad guy. It's a guy who's having a bad day.
Right, exactly.
He's having a bad day.
And like, cause like while we were watching that episode, it's like basically the plot of the episode is that, this father whose daughter was on the transplant list, gets a page that she's gonna have her
they have a
transplant.
heart for her, so they rush to the hospital.
Yeah, it's literally a life or death thing. Turns out that there was a miscommunication. She's not actually doing it, so this sets him off. Like
there is a heart. It's going to another patient.
Exactly.
And
so as the episode unfolds more, by the way, Flashpoint is on Amazon Prime. I think Lost is on Hulu right now. But anyway, he takes them hostage, and he grabs a gun from a security guard, and he which, having previously been a security guard, was just I really felt for that guy because he got fired. But
probably
yeah. But but it's while we were watching it, as this plot was unfolding, I was thinking about like how, like, you see on the news, like, oh, gunman takes people hostage at so and so, does this, and you just think like
how could you get to that point, like where you would be desperate enough to do that? But
exactly.
like, well, I mean, this, in his eyes, it's the only way to save his daughter's life, and he would rather go to jail and know his daughter is going to be alive.
Right. Also, it's cheapened a little bit because it's Canada, where they're not going to get, like, it's, they're nice there. But anyway.
Well, a slap on the wrist, eh?
Yeah.
Well, you go home and get to your daughter, all right? Don't you know?
But
that's Wisconsin.
But yeah, it was really good. I'm enjoying watching it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying Lost also.
Nice. I'm agonizing over all the theories that I have about all the characters.
I love how
Flashpoint.
the episode we watched today, it ended on a very dramatic moment, because we found out that on the last episode there was a teaser where Locke was talking to
Walt.
Walt, yeah. And he's like, "Do you want to know a secret?" And he doesn't. We don't find out what the secret is. But in the episode we watched today, Michael, dad, Michael, he's talking to Walt, and he's like, "Yeah, he told me a secret." And he's like, "Well, did he say you couldn't tell me?" And he's like, "No." And I'm like, first of all, that's the point of a secret, but whatever. But then Walt's like, he said that the crash.
No, he said a miracle happened.
Happened to him.
Yeah. It's like, well, that's kind of, again, that's vague.
I love how they're building it up to make him seem like some kind of mysterious bad guy. And it's like, I know enough about Lost that I know what the miracle was, that he can walk now.
Well, not to spoil it or anything, but we're gonna find out next episode. Like, it's not like a long running thing.
Yeah.
And Locke as a character develops a lot. Like, he really fills into that kind of role. Like, he and Jack go at odds with each other.
Always really liked Locke.
Me too.
He's just a great actor.
Oh my god, Terry O'Quinn is amazing.
But part of the reason you like Locke so much is because he's so mysterious.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's cool to see, like, knowing what I know, seeing how they're setting it up and everything. So
I do want to mention,
because I don't know much, I don't remember much going forward from here. So
watching this episode, I kept thinking like this show goes into goes just so into so many just really random, like kind of fucked up things throughout the series run that I'm really excited to revisit them. And,
great.
Yeah, and see what you think of them. But there was a moment in this episode where a big point of the episode, one of the B plots, was that Michael is trying to find Vincent, Walt's dog. And Locke creates this dog whistle.
He carves out of wood.
Yeah, and he gets the dog, and so he does a nice thing for Michael, and he's like, hey, I
found the dog. You should tell Walt that you found him.
Yeah. But the scene is like he goes over to Michael, wakes him up, and says, hey, and with a smile on his face, is like, hey, I found your son's dog. And I think it was Jimmy Kimmel, like, when the show was airing, he was a huge fan of Lost. Like, Jimmy Kimmel, like, would have the cast on, and he would always do, like segments and everything. After the show aired its series finale, they had, like, an after show with Jimmy Kimmel. Like, Jimmy Kimmel Live did, like, a live broadcast with all the cast and everything, just talking about the finale. Like, he was a huge fan. But he did this thing, and he had done a few of them, where it's like unnecessary censorship. I think it's a long running, like, segment on his show, but he did it, like, Lost edition. And there was, like, a lot of it was like there's a scene in a future episode, like, Jack is a surgeon, and, like, there's a scene in one of his flashbacks where he is about to operate on a woman, and she's talking to him, like, before she goes under anesthesia, and she's crying and everything, and then he's like, I'm gonna fix you. It's very dramatic. So, and then also the scene with Locke where he wakes up Michael, he's like, I found your son's dog. They bleep found and fixed, so it's like, I'm gonna fuck you, and I fucked your son's dog. It's just,
someone
it's so
soundbite
funny.
that.
Yeah.
Matt,
Wait,
just
no,
Matt
no.
saying that.
No. I gotta give the listeners what they want. I fucked your son's dog. I'm gonna fuck you.
Don't look directly in my eyes and say that. What is wrong with you?
Why, you don't have a son? Okay, anyway.
So, yeah.
So,
Lost is good. Flashpoint's better.
It is. Someone soundbite.
You said it is. I said Lost is good.
No,
Flashpoint's better.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
And you said it is.
No.
That's going to be out. That's going to exist forever.
You're forgetting I edit this podcast.
Don't edit that out.
Anyway.
Matt, I need this.
I fucked your son's dog. Okay.
I hate you. God. Let's wrap this up.
Let's do. Okay, this is the Obsessive Viewer. I'm sorry.
If you made it to the end of this episode,
yes.
Good job.
Right. What Mike likes to do whenever he's on the show is he likes to give a hashtag for the listeners, and if they listen to the very end,
I fucked your son's dog.
You heard it, folks. Tweet us with that. Anyway, yeah, so next week on the podcast, so this is Christmas. This is our Christmas episode. Merry Christmas, guys. Mm-hmm. Or Happy Holidays, whatever you want. I had a thought, like, I wanted to, like, post something, like, tweet this or something. It's like, the real war on Christmas is people thinking that Die Hard is, or people saying that Die Hard is a Christmas movie. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
Yeah.
So anyway, next week I'm gonna try to squeeze out 2 more episodes of the podcast. Me and Tiny on New Year's Eve, I'm gonna hopefully get an episode out that's me and Tiny reviewing Roma, which is currently available on Netflix. It's Alfonso Cuarón's movie, his latest movie, first movie since Gravity, which was my movie of the year in 2013. So I'm really excited to talk about Roma. And I think before then, when I checked into the theater when we saw Welcome to Marwen, the comment was the weekend that a major DC movie releases, of course, Kyrsten and I are seeing Welcome to Marwen. And we're now reviewing it. But Tiny and I are going to see Aquaman tomorrow morning, and then I think I'm going to have Fecus on for a bonus episode that should come out later this week. Hopefully we can get that together. So basically we'll close out 2018 with a bonus review of Aquaman and a review of Roma, and then we'll probably take a week or two off and get our year in review episode done.
Can I just slide in here real quick?
Sure.
Did you see The Favorite?
I did, yeah.
Fuck you.
Did you want to see that?
You know I wanted to see it. Because every time the trailer came on, I said, that looks like it's going to be good. And you said, it doesn't look that good to me. And you knew I wanted to see it.
I did not know that.
I was so pissed at you that you went and saw it when you knew I wanted to see it.
I didn't. Because I feel like I remember like asking, like, do you want to see
No,
this?
because I did want to see it, and I told you I did. And Manny said it was good.
I'm sorry?
Yeah,
it was actually pretty good.
Manny said it was good, and I told you it looked good and it looked funny, and then I wanted to see it. And Emma Stone, and you said you didn't even want to see it.
Okay, what I said was, I'm not sure that I want to see it because the director is this guy that I don't like. I've seen 2 of his movies. I don't.
So
really
I just
like
wanted
him.
to slide in there and say, screw you.
Well, sorry. I can see it again.
No, I don't want to now.
Okay, good. Okay, let me go through my A-list here and see if there's anything else that I'm going to get yelled at about.
Yeah, let's see what's going on.
Yeah. Because the thing is, we're in crunch time now. Crunch time. Because I want to see as many 2018 movies as I can before the end of the year.
And I'm in rehearsals. I want to see Bumblebee.
Oh, yes. Okay. That's not one of the ones I'm going to see.
I want to see Bumblebee.
I do have a ticket Christmas Eve for Mary, Queen of Scots. Do you want to see that, or are you going to yell at me? Okay, good. And then Vice comes out next week.
What is Vice?
That's the Vice President, Dick Cheney movie.
Oh, yeah.
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 I was going to see that maybe next Friday.
I do want to see that.
Okay. Will you yell at me if I see it too? Or if I see it before you?
Is this you saying you're not going to go see it with me?
No, I mean, I can. Yeah, I mean.
I want to see On the Basis of Sex. That looks good.
Yeah. Alison Wilmore had. Oh yes, Glass. We need to see Glass. We need to have like a day, or like we need to plan something where we watch Unbreakable and Split and then see Glass.
I've never seen Unbreakable.
That surprised me when you told me that.
Yeah,
and I'm really excited.
I just haven't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else? Because I want to see Vice. We can maybe see that like next weekend or something.
Maybe.
I guess.
Maybe.
Vice, and then Holmes and Watson.
No, thank you. I'm gonna pass.
Yeah. But yeah, I honestly did not know that you wanted to see.
You are
The Favorite.
lying to me.
I'm not. So, but you want to see Bumblebee because of
because Dylan O'Brien is playing Bumblebee. Apparently, I swear to, I know he's gonna have like one scene with like 2 lines of dialogue.
Well, I'll let you know when I see it tomorrow.
Bumblebee?
No, not Bumblebee. Oh, okay. Never mind. I was thinking Aquaman.
He's not in Aquaman.
Well, you don't know. He's
playing Aqualad. Who is that's a thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Is he a Teen Titan?
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha.
The original Aqualad was one of the original members of Teen Titans.
Nice. I do know that you want to see Mary Poppins Returns.
I do. Yeah.
Which is what Kirk asked if we were seeing.
Yeah. Our fan.
Yep. And then in February, I know you're just dying to see Isn't It Romantic?
Well, too bad I have a show in February. So.
Well, that's fine. We'll find time.
And I got the show, so
we'll find time. It's going to be such a huge hit, though, that it's going to be in theaters for it's going to be like Titanic or Avatar. It's going to be in theaters for like a year. So once your show is done, we'll have to go see Isn't It Romantic a few times. Because there are some nuances that I'm sure we're not going to be able to catch the first couple of times. Yeah. So, yeah, and apparently you want to see The Favorite. All right, well, I think we're done with this episode.
You don't need to do that.
I do. So I just got yelled at.
Yeah, I think we are done with this episode.
Yes,
and maybe done with this friendship.
Yes. Self-fulfilling prophecy. Like I said, it's your last episode. Check out Patreon at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer.
If you want to know what we're talking about.
Exactly. But yeah, okay, so thank you guys so much for listening. we'll be back next week and or later this week if we can get Fecus on for Aquaman. And yeah, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Merry Christmas.
There, that too. All right, Merry Christmas, guys. And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon-exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. So, Kyrsten and I, we're about to record episode. Oh my god. Shit. Oh my god! I think she's crying.
That wasn't just a yawn. That was like you gasped, and I saw your soul leave your body. This whole time, while Matt was setting up, I was yawning because it's getting a little bit late and I'm sleepy. He said, "Yeah, get all your yawns out before we start recording. I don't want them interfering." And then you have the audacity to go.
So we're about to record episode 263, which will be Kyrsten's last episode.
That was the most dramatic yawn I've ever seen.
Oh god. Anyway.
See, that's normal. That's sedate.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Fecus, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, The Dark Tower series, at TowerJunkiesPod.com and at TowerJunkiesPod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!
I f***ed your son's dog.